As we near the presidential election period, a lot of Christian ministers and leaders and pundits are saying, vote for the candidate who will outlaw abortion. Whether or not that candidate lies, whether or not that candidate steals, whether or not that candidate is moral, whether or not that candidate is even a Christian, vote for the one who is against abortion. I have seen that from a lot of very popular ministers whose names I will not mention, but nationally known evangelists. And the question I would ask is, while I don't necessarily believe in killing babies, me not having a uterus, me being a man, means that my opinion is kind of irrelevant. But as a Christian, I think that rather than wanting to reverse Roe versus Wade or shut down abortion clinics, I think the key is to do what Jesus would do, which is to show love and compassion. Now, most of the time, we see situations, and it's quite often young teenage girls, sometimes older women, but teenage girls who get lied to by a man about his love for her, about what he'll do for her, about how he will love her till the end of time. And then once his objective is met, he leaves. And he might even say, "That's not my baby. You must have been with someone else." So weird, isn't it? Because now we have a situation where a woman is pregnant, and often it's a teenage girl, and people don't think how strong the life force is when a young woman first enters into the reproductive period of her life. For instance, a lot of times teenagers are taught by other teenagers that you can't get pregnant the first time, which is probably the opposite from the truth, because guess what? The life force is the strongest during that period of a girl's life, and she gets less fertile as she gets older. Now, I've heard of women in their early 50s, late 40s getting pregnant and having healthy babies. So it's not that they lose that force, but it seems teenagers are a lot quicker to get pregnant, if that's a quantifiable way of putting it, than when you get older. So you have a teenage girl. She has entered the reproductive period of her life. She may not understand it because no one teaches it. Yeah, you might have sex ed in school, but there's more pornography than anything else. And what I've read is that a lot of teenagers think that pornography is actual lovemaking, actual sex, and actually it's not. It's no more than watching one of those kung fu movies where they have the flying guillotine and they're running up the side of a building and flying 50 feet in the air. They think that's real, and it's not. I studied martial arts as a kid. I've seen my instructor knock other students unconscious. I never volunteered in those classes, but in movies you have things that make things more aggrandized than in reality. So parents may not be talking to their kids about sex. Pastors certainly aren't. When I was in my early 20s, and I noticed that all the young girls in our church were getting pregnant and being thrown out of church until they realized we're going to throw everybody out and there'll be nobody left. And so they kind of just ignored the fact that these girls were pregnant. So I was working with the youth, and there was a single mother. She fell in that category. She was young, impressionable. Guy lied to her. She's a single mother. So she and I went to the pastor and said, let's teach these young girls to keep them from making the same mistake. And the pastor said, we can't talk about sex in the house of God. Well, that's kind of stupid, but I didn't say that to him. But people aren't teaching these girls anything. And so a guy gets them pregnant. Now, here's an interesting thing. The girl gets called a whore. The baby gets called a bastard. Nobody has a name for the guy who started the whole thing. Isn't that kind of weird? You have a woman who fell for a lie. The guy who told the lie gets off scot-free. She gets labeled. So in all of these circumstances, sometimes a girl feels she has no other alternative than to get rid of the baby. If you're a Christian, rather than to picket abortion clinics, rather than to bombs or shoot people or do other unchristian things, here's an idea. How about taking a girl into your home, taking care of her? If her parents were out, take her to her prenatal doctor visits, get her vitamins, watch over her. And then when the baby is born, if she wants to take care of it, help her out. If she doesn't feel she can, adopt the baby or take the baby to one of the millions of families who are dying to adopt a child. There are families going to China, going to Russia, going to Africa to get babies. But yet we're aborting them. And granted, if a woman doesn't choose to carry a baby, well, that's her decision. I may not agree with that decision, but it's not my decision. It's her decision. So if we can provide an alternative by doing what Jesus said, to love. Now the problem is people have a million reasons why they can't take a woman into their home and care for her while she's pregnant. Well, I can't afford to do that. Well, a lot of people are preaching prosperity, believe in prosperity to take care of women. Keith and Melody Green back in the 70s and 80s, they had a ranch in Texas, and they started in California, taking people in off the street, taking care of them. In fact, Judy Pye, who writes some wonderful things on our Powerhouse blog, was a teenager when that sort of when that thing was going on, I should say. And she was brought up under that ministry and is doing great things for God. You may not politically agree with abortion or with other issues, but you can do things. Yeah, you can vote a certain way, even if you're voting against your own interests. But regardless of how you vote, regardless of what you do, have an attitude to do what Jesus would do. And if there's a young woman who feels she has no choice but to abort her child, give her an alternative. Take care of her. Bring her into your home. Feed her. And take care of the baby. And if she wants to give it up for adoption, help her to make a good choice. And if she wants to keep it, help her be a good mom. That's hard. That's difficult. You have tons of reasons why you can't do that. But rather than take the easy way out, take the Jesus way. Because guess what? If you go his direction, he'll be there with you. He'll give you wisdom. He'll give you resources. Just a thought from the Powerhouse. God bless America.